Hey you guys, it's Peter and welcome to my channel, Peter Watches TV, where I watch all the TV shows and then I come over here and I react to them. And today, I want to talk about part 2 of the Sister Wives one-on-one, better known as the non-reunion. I watched it last night, I took my notes, I am very, very prepared. But as we near the end of this season of Sister Wives, there is only one question that I have to ask. How many episodes are they going to run these boring ass one-on-ones? I am so over at this point. And let me just tell you that taking notes for these is even crazier than taking notes for the show, okay, the regular show. So for those of you that do not know, I take notes for these shows, okay, which means I basically make a cup of coffee and I sit up in the corner with my iPad and I just fire these notes down as all these fools say stuff on the show, right, so that I can reference it and I remember what they said. But the reunion, or the non-reunion, the one-on-ones with Suki are extremely difficult because Suki, will ask Mary a question, and she'll say to Mary, well, what do you think about Coyote Pass? And then Mary will say, well, I think that Cody tried to always, cheat us out of money. And then she'll go to Janelle, and she won't ask Janelle the same question. She'll say something like, did you like Coyote Pass? And Janelle goes, well, it'll be okay. And then they'll flash to Cody, and Cody will go, well, what's the clip, Suki? I'm not going to watch the clip. Let's just forget the clip. And then she'll go to Robin, and she'll say, well, what do you think about Coyote Pass, Robin? And Robin will go, I don't know. I don't have anything to say. I don't know. It's so weird. It's it just jumps from one person to another. And I've said this so many times, but I'm going to say it throughout this whole reunion coverage. The fact that they will not sit in a room and do a reunion together is the reason why all these people should be fired. Period. End of story. Okay? There is no reality show where they do a reunion like this. And I know, and people are so sympathetic to them because when I talked about it last time, people were like, hey, these are relationships. They don't get along anymore. They're exes. And I totally understand that. Then they probably shouldn't be on a TV show together anymore. I mean, that's how I feel about it, right? I mean, I watch TV shows all the time where exes have to be together on the same reunion. That's what you signed up for. It's a job, okay? It's not just a TV show. We're watching a bunch of fake-ass people that follow a fake-ass religion that they don't even follow anymore, okay? It's a TV show. They're getting paid for this. This is their job. And they're not showing up for their job effectively. By the way, I have one question to ask. Why Sedona, Arizona? Does that make sense to anybody? I mean, I've heard Sedona is absolutely gorgeous and beautiful, but why Sedona? Are Robin and Cody, can they not leave Dayton and Arizona by himself, or Brescia and Chiffon and Mattress? Can they not stay in Arizona by themselves? So everybody has to fly to Arizona for Cody and Robin. Why Sedona? I'm so confused. And if we're going to do it in Sedona and you're just going to sit in a house with the scenery in the background, why not just go to Flagstaff where Coyote Pass is? Fuck, why don't you just have it on Coyote Pass? Why don't you all bring a bunch of chairs around the bonfire, okay? Why don't you just have it out there? I think that would be a perfect reunion, actually, okay? That they could have Sob and Robin and Cody chopping wood and taking down trees at Coyote Pass while everybody else just sat out there and was bitter as shit. I think that would be a perfect reunion. But why Sedona? Do they always do it in Sedona? I don't think they've always done it in Sedona. I don't think they have. I will say this. Suki, who is doing the reunions, I live for her, okay? I live for her so much because she won't put up with Cody's shit. She pushes as far as she can. There's a part in this episode where he says something to her about, I don't have to answer, or I'm going to shut you down. She goes, you can't shut me down. He goes, yes, I can. Basically implying, and a lot of people have said this, that Cody is a huge part of, pushing production and things like that. Which is why the show is the way that it is. And it's why they have fired a former interviewee of the reunion one-on-ones. But it also makes sense to me watching this. Cody has no concept of realization whatsoever that if production is this is not the Cody Brown show anymore, okay? Nobody really cares about Cody. Everybody really cares about Janelle, Christine, and Mary. I definitely don't care about Robin. She has nothing to offer to the reunion, and she's not interesting in the least at all. And her kids bore me. They have nothing to offer to the conversation. They're grown adults, so I can say that. I'm talking about Brescia and Mattress at this point, okay? I think they seem like real nice gals, and I hope that they, enjoy their church and find husbands or whatever their goal is right now, or in college or whatever they're doing. But I don't really care about them to watch half of a TV show. I mean, I did not invest in those two girls. And I don't care about Robin, and she's boring, and she's a liar anyway. And to watch more of Kody Brown as, you know, like, Janelle talks about him rewriting history, and he's a revisionist of history and things like that. It's boring to watch, because we all know the truth now. I mean, after 19 seasons, we kind of know what the truth is. So when you're watching it, and Kody and Robin are lying through their teeth, it's like, I'm asking myself, why, A, do you have them on the show, and B, why is production allowing this? So to me, it's just, the show is just bullshit at this point. Now I'll keep on watching it, okay? But I don't know how many episodes the reunion's gonna have. So let me go through my notes so we can, oh my God, I have more notes than I thought I did. Okay, so it starts with Janelle, and Suki asks her about Kody being a failure, because that's kind of like one of the things that came up in the last episode. I actually think it was Christine that said it. About Kody being a failure because in the church that they belong to, that to have 3 wives and then have your 3 wives leave you would mean that you're a failure. Then Mary says something about she doesn't understand why Kody would even care that she got a divorce from the church, because he wasn't even part of that church anymore, so why would it even matter to him? And they're all like, well, he's not religious, he doesn't go to church. You know, it's so interesting to me that this whole show is based around this religious idea that none of them believe in anymore. And then, so there's always questions about polygamy. So if you don't believe in the church, and you don't believe in the religiosity of the church, or the doctrine of the church, okay? And it's not about that, and we're still having discussions about plural marriage, then it's not really about Kody Brown wanting to be married to multiple women for religiosity. It's really about Kody Brown just wanting to have multiple wives. That's really what it's about. You know, it's at the end of this, Suki asks Robin, like, would you do polygamy again, or would you do plural marriage again? And Robin answers the same way that she did on the show when they asked her earlier, and she says if there was a guarantee, basically if the wives wouldn't leave and things like that, that yeah, she would be open to it. But then to me, it's kind of like, okay, well, if Robin's open to plural marriage, and let's say if Kody is, which he's made it pretty clear he's not, open to plural marriage, but neither of you are involved in the church, and this is a part of your church. This is a part of you getting to heaven, right? Like, this is a part of your eternal, like, promises and things like that. That's no longer a part of the church because you no longer belong to the church. Then is it that Kody just wants to have multiple wives to fuck multiple wives? Is that really what it is? Because Kody is such a misogynist anyway. I mean, the fact that Robin sticks by him and he makes all these misogynist statements says a lot about Robin as a person. But the fact that then you would enter plural marriage, not even believing, I mean, the whole concept of the show is that plural marriage is a religious doctrine. But they don't, any of them, not one person on the show follows that religion anymore. As much as Robin wants to say she failed everybody because they didn't stop going to church, she could continue to go to the church. She doesn't go to the church because her husband's a failure. So if I feel like they're kind of feeding it out. Like, if they're going to do another season, like, is Kody going to get another wife? Please miss me with that shit. If Kody brings another wife into this mix, I mean, it would make the show a little bit more interesting, I guess. You know, I mean, I would probably watch and be like, who is she? And all this kind of stuff. But then it's not about that. Then you have a man that just wants to have multiple wives. Then it's basically, and people were asking me the comparison the other day between polyfamily, which I'll be doing my review to the finale tomorrow, polyfamily and sister wives. Well, then it is just a man that has multiple wives and no religious backing whatsoever, you know? And then it's just objectifying women to some degree. I don't know. Then it's a completely different show and a completely different concept than what the show is built on. But anyway, Suki asked Janelle about Kody being a failure. And Janelle talks about that in their religion, that you're expected to be more than you are, and you're expected to make these relationships work, and that he has to meet the needs of his wives to make all those relationships work, and he didn't do that. And she says, especially during the lockdown. And it's interesting that the lockdown is brought up, because, you know, that's when, after the lockdown is when Gabriel confronts Kody and says, you know, like, Dad, we didn't see you for almost a year. And he goes, well, that's because none of you are willing to follow the rules, and I stayed with Robin. Which we then find out that even Kody and Robin didn't follow the rules. Kody went to a wedding. Their housekeeper, like, she got sick and brought it into the house and things like that. And then YouTube doesn't like the C word during that time, if you know what I'm talking about. So I can't say that word on here. But anyway, and so they weren't following the rules either. And basically what Gabriel's saying was, no, you could have been with any of the wives. You chose to be with Robin and just isolate with Robin. You could have been with us. You could have been with Christine. You could have been with Mary. You chose to be with Robin at that time. The fact that Kody is so tunnel visioned, either he's the world's biggest idiot, or he is unwilling to see the truth, or he sees the truth and he's unwilling to admit to it. And I believe the latter to be true. Then Christine says that, and I love that she said that, she goes, if 3 wives leave, the problem is definitely the man. And I was like, well, thank you for saying what we've all been thinking. But she said he puts it all on them for leaving, because he can't take any responsibility or accountability. And Christine's like, but it was all broken before. Then Suki asks Robin about being called a sacred cow, because Janelle refers to her as a sacred cow. Robin, like, shakes her head and laughs and says she doesn't even know where it came from. She's like, I don't care about that. I don't even know where it came from. You don't know where it came from. You don't know what a sacred cow is, Robin? I mean, that would be a quick Google search that you could do to know the reference of what a sacred cow is. But she doesn't care. This is what's so interesting about Robin. Robin, in every one of the scenes, whenever Suki asks her about something, she's like, I don't care. I don't care. But she refuses to watch the clips. She won't watch the clips of the show. In the last episode, Suki asks her why she won't watch the clips, and she says she doesn't watch the clips because it's too painful. It brings up too much trauma. Well, if you don't care, okay, then you're not going to have a trauma response to that. If you don't have any emotions invested into it, you're not going to care. The fact that she doesn't, I mean, if you care about something deeply, you're going to have an emotional response to it. The fact that she won't watch the clips indicates that she does care on some level. So she's a liar. I mean, they literally show the wives watching the clips, and Robin's always like this. She refuses to watch the clips. Anyway, Suki asks her about the sacred cow thing, and Robin goes, moo. They're just assholes. She and Kody are just assholes. I mean, they won't answer anything seriously whatsoever, not one thing. She's like, she doesn't know where it came from, and she doesn't care. Suki asks if Kody has a bias towards any of the wives, and Robin says she doesn't think so. I'm like, okay, well, you've had a lot of years to think about this, because this has been a hot topic of conversation literally surrounding the show for years on whether or not Kody has a bias towards Robin, and we all know that he does. The fact that, I mean, I would have respected Robin more if she would have got on there and said, absolutely. Can't you see it on the show, Suki? Kody obviously has a bias towards me. Cody's protective of me. Kody is now I'm his only wife. Like, we love each other. Like, obviously he has a bias towards me. Did he have a bias towards me before and he picked me? We fell in love, Suki. We've told the story before. I would respect Robin more. It's the fact that Robin and Kody continue this narrative. This is where it's weird, right? Like, Kody says, Robin and I fell in love the minute we met, and it was a different kind of love. But then they ask her, like, does he have a bias towards you? And she goes, I don't think so. Well, if he fell in love with you, and he had a different kind of love with you than he had his other kinds of wives, maybe bias is the wrong word, but yes, he would definitely have an affinity towards you, or a different kind of feeling towards you than he had for the other kind of wives, which would indicate bias. So how you can sit there after 19 seasons, it's bullshit. This is where they're liars. I would respect them more if she would say, Suki, why are we even asking this question? Like, obviously he does. That's why he spent all his time with me during the lockdown. That's why he doesn't have relationships with his kids or his wives. They all left. Obviously. Okay? But, like, she won't even, like, affirm what's so obvious and right in front of all of our faces, right? So then she asks her if Robin feels safe telling Kody things. And she's like, yeah, she feels safe telling Kody things. And she's like, well, Janelle didn't feel that way. She didn't feel like she could talk to him because there were things that were off limits. And then she says she doesn't know why Janelle feels that way. She says the focus is always on her, and they wishes that they would just focus on their relationships and not bring her name into it. Well, I mean, that's kind of hard when your husband is spending all the time with you, Robin, locked down with you the entire time, doesn't see any of his other kids except for your kids, okay? And it's kind of hard not to bring you into the relationship. It'd be very similar if Robin wasn't in the picture and Kody was traveling all the time for work, okay? And let's say 5 out of the 7 days of the week, he was out of town for work. And the conversation of why the marriages ended was not because of Robin. Let's say it was because of his job. And the wives were saying, you're never home because of your job. You don't pay any attention to your kids because of your job. We're not intimate anymore because we don't have time for it because of your job. You're always focused on your job. When you're at home, you're picking up the phone and talking to your work. It's always about your job. So it doesn't really matter what it's about. It's about the deflection off the relationship. The fact that Kody and Robin are unwilling to admit any truth to that whatsoever is crazy to me. I mean, it's obviously his attention was elsewhere. It wasn't on these 3 relationships. He wasn't keeping them up. I mean, we saw that on the footage. As much as they tried to edit it in his direction, we saw it. Production has done such a shitty job for 19 years on not letting us in on the truth. I think the TLC production team for Sister Wives should be fired. Absolutely. If they're going to do a 20th season, can you bring in a new production team that's going to actually show us the truth, TLC? Because this is bullshit. It's bullshit, is what you've done. You sold us on a lie for 19 years, okay, is what you've done. Janelle says that she doesn't think that Robin is innocent, that it takes 2 for all this to go on. But she says that she thinks that Kody is more villainous for taking responsibility away from her. And this is kind of what I was talking about. He's like, if he would just allow Robin to go, well, of course I'm the favorite. Of course, we know that. Then it would make Robin seem more real instead of this kind of like, oh, not me. Who, what? You have to protect me at any cost. And the fact that he does that, it's like, it won't, like, let her stand her own 2 feet. You know, like, you don't let her stand on her own 2 feet. It's like when they're leaving for the one-on-ones, she says she doesn't want to go, that she would rather get a root canal. And he goes, I'll protect you. It's like, I understand that kind of like loyalty and wanting to protect your partner and things like that. But she signed up for the show too. She gets a paycheck that puts her in that $1 million house, okay? Let's not act like she doesn't. She would even have her business, Sister Wives Closet. If y'all were just 4 sister wives and married to a polygamous husband, that business would never have sold 1 piece of jewelry, okay? And it hardly sold any at all. But the fact that you ever were able to start that business was because of this TV show. That's a complete fraud. So let's just make that really, really clear, okay? Janelle says that he's running interference with Robin and that he was never this mean before, and she doesn't really understand it. She's like, it's the total rewriting of history. She says the rewriting of history, the narration is different. She says it so many times. I kind of love that Janelle just stays on his ass. But she, at the same time, she doesn't give a shit, you know? She feels like it's all a smokescreen for something else. I think that's an interesting concept. It's like, if the focus is on taking the focus off of Robin, if we make that the focus, okay? That Kody's focus is, go with me here for a second, I know it's confusing, but what Janelle is saying is, if Kody and Robin, if they are saying that the other wives are always focusing on Robin, but the other wives are not really focusing on Robin, okay, then it's deflecting, it's the smokescreen off of what the truth really is, which is that Kody has put no effort into his relationships with his wives or his kids. So in a way, it's indirectly blaming Robin, but blaming it on the ex-wives for blaming Robin. Because then they never have to, if he has to look at the camera and go, the wives are pissed at me. He never says this. He never says the wives are pissed at me because I don't have a relationship with my kids. He never says the wives are pissed at me. He goes, they always focus on Robin. Robin is the smokescreen. Janelle's 100% right. She's absolutely 100% right. And he says he doesn't care what they think because we're all broke up now anyway and we just need to move on, so who cares? Suki says that he shut Janelle down about Robin. He then turns around and shuts Suki down and he says he doesn't have to say the answer. He's so arrogant in this moment. He says he goes this whole thing with the wives. He goes, to the wives, I'm sorry too. I hope you have the best life. I mean, he's so disgusting in this moment. And he's like, but they all left. And then he goes, I'd love to have it all back. It's so confusing. Like, we find out later that he called up Mary like 2 weeks ago and they had a conversation. And basically, he's like wishing they could have worked things out. Like, why don't you bring that to the reunion, Kody Brown? Why don't you bring that part of it to the reunion? Janelle says that she can be friendly with Kody, but she doesn't want to be friends with him or Robin. She doesn't trust them and she doesn't like them. She asks why, Suki asks her why she couldn't have a relationship, and she has no need or want for that. She doesn't want that at all. She says she doesn't like them. I love this. Suki goes, why not? She goes, I don't know, I just don't like them. She goes, I don't like them. And she goes, why don't you like them? She goes, I don't know, I just don't. I don't like them. I was like, exactly. You don't have to have an answer. You just don't like them. He treated you like shit. She treated you like shit. Why would she like him? I think a lot of these questions, I understand why Suki's asking them, but I think a lot of the questions like, would you go on a double date? Could you be friends down the road? I think those are such bizarre questions to ask. I mean, this is an emotionally abusive relationship that these women went through. Mary doesn't see that it was emotionally abusive yet. At least I don't see that on film. I think Janelle gets it. She's so distanced from it. And I think Christine is still experiencing trauma from it. I think it's interesting that you see these three wives over there. And then Suki is asking them, like, would you go on a double date with them? Which Christine says that she would down the road. And I'm like, why would you even insinuate that you think that's a healthy choice for this woman to have to go through with everything she went through? Why is that even an appropriate question to ask? I think it's such a fucked up question to ask on this show after what these women went through. I just think it's so weird. Then we come back from commercial break and we're with Mary and they're talking about them getting along than all the others. She says there was pressure before, but there's not now, so they get along. She talks about the fun, flirty vibe that they had on moving day, and then they show this clip of the moving day when he backed into her, and I remember covering it over here. He backed into her and she's like, oh, Cody, oh my God, not in the ass, Cody. And he said it was inappropriate because he's married. I'm married to Robin, and I don't do her in the ass. I don't know. It was so weird. That whole scene was so weird to me. That scene, if it showed anything, showed how little sex any of them ever have, okay? That was what that scene showed me. It was embarrassing. It was, for both of them, it was embarrassing. I didn't think it was funny. I didn't think it was cute. I thought it was weird and embarrassing. Then they make this big deal on the reunion about how they weren't married and they hadn't been there in that position in years. Christine said she thought it was funny to watch. She was like, just relax, Cody. It's not that big of a deal, because he was making a big deal about, I'm married to Robin. She's my one and only trusting, true, you know, until my next wife comes along, I guess. And she said he's defining himself now. I thought this was such an interesting point. She goes, he's defining himself now as Robin's husband, even though he's been that for a long time. Because he's like now saying on the show, like, I'm Robin's husband. I'm her only husband. But he's been that for a long time. I was like, that's kind of true. That he had to make it so clear in this scene that he's married. Cody said his body belonged to Robin, but it was still funny. I'm like, you literally backed into your ex-wife for 2 seconds moving a dresser, okay? There was no penetration. Let's just call it for real, okay? You both had jeans on. It was not like, it was like literally she backed, oh my God, I'm married now. It was so weird. It was so weird. And what was even weirder about this is that Suki asked Robin if she was upset about it. What did she say? She said something. This is the one part that Robin kind of acted weird about. And I was like, Robin was upset about that. She kind of was. You could tell in this moment that Robin was kind of upset about it. She says that she hadn't drawn those lines yet with the relationship, so she didn't know how she felt. Robin, through the entire thing, every time Suki asks for something, she goes, she doesn't know how she feels. But she doesn't know. She just doesn't say anything. I mean, it's so weird. She said the banter between he and Mary is why she loved that. She loved that part of them bantering back and forth. I'm like, in this moment, when Robin is talking about, like, the banter between Cody and Mary, that's what she loved. I flash back to the scene. Do you remember the scene in the kitchen where she wanted Mary and Cody to kiss years ago? I was like, the reason why she encouraged this relationship between Mary and Cody, and why she was able to be such close friends with Mary, was because she was never threatened by Mary. She was threatened by Christine. She was threatened by Janelle. But she was never threatened by Mary. And it makes so much sense to me in this moment. I was like, because if she was threatened by Janelle or Christine, she would have tried to be closer to them. But she wasn't. She was threatened by them, but she wasn't threatened by Mary. I don't know what Cody was saying to her behind the scenes about how he wasn't attracted to her or whatever behind it. I mean, I don't know. It almost like, it's weird to me. I don't know. It's so weird to me. And that's why she was so close to her. Christine says it was mean and disrespectful that he said that in that moment, that he said that he wished that was the wife that he had married. That fun, kind of jovial wife. Mary said that being called his favorite ex is funny. She'd rather be on good terms with him than have angst. I totally understand that. She says that he was married. She said he was married to that Mary. He just didn't know it because he never showed up in 3 years since the lockdown to ever get to know that Mary, and that was his loss. And I kind of loved how Mary approached all this. She said it was unfortunate that he didn't get to see the fun side of her, but he wasn't there for that. He didn't show up, you know? It's so interesting that the three wives talk so much about his absence, and Kody really refuses to even address it whatsoever. And then Suki says, does it make you second guess your decision? And she's like, no, not at all. Then we're back to Janelle, and Janelle says that Mary is so loyal, and he constantly is bringing up the catfish situation, which happened years ago, okay, as a justification for why the relationship didn't work. She said it's also hard, and I thought this is a really good point. She said, you know, it's hard to compare us at 25 when we met Kody and were with Kody to Kody 2.5 that he is now. Like, she's like, it's not a fair comparison. Like, Robin met Kody 2.0. Like, she didn't have to deal with Kody during the early years. Like, Robin got to walk in and get the new and improved Kody. Like, she didn't have to deal with Kody. I thought that was really interesting point. Kody says that in the relationship with Mary, it was antagonistic. Until the day that she was moving. And Suki's like, well, do you think that she just gave up everything that day and forgave you? And he's like, and that she just had all this awareness. And he's like, I don't know, but something happened on that day. Which shows that he wasn't keeping up with Mary at all, because she had changed long before then. And then he says that there was this awareness on the day, that later that day, that's when he's like breaking down and he's sobbing and crying. I'm like, yeah, you were sobbing, Kody. He makes it sound like she was sobbing and crying. I don't know if him and Rob, he said he watches the shows back. Mary wasn't crying. He was crying that day, sobbing. He said it was awareness that it was all over, not just with Mary, but for the whole family. And he was remembering the good times. And I was like, well, that makes sense to me, because I think we were all, as viewers, I was brokenhearted in that moment because of the memories, because of the family dinners and the family Valentine's Day dinners and the family Thanksgiving dinners and the plastic plates and the plastic forks and and all the food and all the Jell-O salad. No, I did, like, in that moment, watching it back. It made me sad. I loved them as a family when I first started watching it, you know? And she said she didn't know if he was talking about them, the couple, or the whole family. She was confused. Christine says it pissed her off because he wouldn't even look at himself in the situation and see that he was the reason why the whole family fell apart, and he still hasn't. She says that he wondered what happened, what ended all of this era. And Christine's like, it was him. He did it. He was like, Kody is the one that ended this era. It was all his doing. That he strung Mary on for years and years, and then he does this to her. He like leaves her in this confusing emotional state. I thought that was a really good point. Christine is very, very defensive of Mary in all of this. I think it's interesting. And she said it just was rude. It was just rude and disrespectful. Mary just kind of makes jokes about all of it. Like, Mary's response to all this is just joking and laughing. I would like to see a little bit more of a serious Mary on the interviews, just to see how she really feels, because I think that Mary has come into her own voice, and I would really like to hear what she has to say about all this. But Christine is so upset for Mary. She said she's embarrassed for Kody. She said that, and then Mary says that Kody told her a few weeks ago that he was grieving his divorce. And Mary said, you don't get to tell me that. And burden me down with your grief. And I love that this shows the growth of Mary, right? She's like, you don't get to tell me that. You get to grieve. Yes, you're fully allowed to grieve, okay? But you grieve on your own. You did this to me. You don't get to burden me with what you're going through when you made this choice. She said it's this confusion and mixed signals that he's given her the whole relationship. I love you. I don't love you. I never loved you. I shouldn't have married you. I want to make this work. I grieve the relationship. She's like, it's so unfair that he did that to her. He says he doesn't need to reconcile with Mary. And I'm like, why is Suki not in this moment asking her, did you call Mary 2 weeks ago and say you were grieving the marriage? Why don't you ask him that question? Or did he refuse to answer that question? Because he refuses to answer all these questions. He says anybody is going to, he goes, I know I shouldn't be using this word. I'm like, no, you shouldn't, since you're the king of doing this to people. He says anybody is going to gaslight him unless he says exactly what they want him to say. And I'm like, first of all, I think you need to understand the definition of gaslighting. Second of all, you and Robin have gaslit this entire family and all of us as an audience for 19 years, okay? So for you to turn that back on other people and say that if you don't give the exact answer that they want, no, we want you to give the answer that's the truth, Kody. That's what you don't understand, okay? That you use these word jumbles that don't make any sense. You try to talk your way out of things, but just tell the truth. Just answer the fucking questions, Kody. This is going to stop in a second. Hold on. So it's not about any of the wives or anybody gaslighting him. It's about he just won't tell the truth. Then she asks Cody if he could go on a double date with Christine and David. David's on the show as well. He says he's very forgiving, and so he could do that. And I'm like, what do you have to forgive Christine for? Leaving you? When you were never staying with her? You weren't intimate with her? You told her you didn't love her? What do you... did anybody else... I was confused. What is he forgiving of Christine for in that moment? Again, the misogyny, right? Okay. He said David and him should go on a guy's trip. And he's like, God, we should go to guys. But that probably wouldn't be real fair to Christine and all this kind of stuff. I was kind of blown away that he's so out of it that he thought that way. But wait, okay? This is where the show's kind of fucked. And as soon as you think that people have kind of grown, like, it doesn't make any sense at all. Because then Suki asks David, and David's like, yeah, we could go on a guy's trip down the road. He's like, but a few rules would need to be changed. If I were Christine, okay, and I like David. I think David's a good guy. But if I were Christine, and everything she's saying about Cody, first of all, then Suki turns around and says, would you go on a double date with him? And she goes, yeah, down the road. Why do you want any... Janelle is the only one that fucking gets it. Janelle wants nothing to do with these fools. Janelle is the only one that gets it. Christine, why would you even entertain your husband going on a guy's trip or you going on a double date? What need do you have to satisfy to ever show up at the table with this man again? Okay? Ever. After everything he has done to you and your kids, why do you have that need at all? Your husband should sit there and say, fuck no, I would never go on a guy's trip with him. And you should say, fuck no, I would never go on a double date. That was weird to me. There's this ego thing that goes back and forth between Christine and Cody, and I don't get it. It's like you have nothing to prove to Cody. Christine, I love most of the time. I love her insight. But in this moment, I was like, what need do you have? It's not a co-parenting thing. Okay, you don't have to go on a double date or go on a guy's trip to co-parent effectively with them at all, or co-grandparent at all. There's a lot of divorced couples that do it just fine and they don't go on guys' trips together. David says they can do that. They could go on the guy's trip, but if some rules need to be changed, Suki's like, what rules? He doesn't really answer it. Christine says in the future they could go on a double date. I'm like, at this point, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm so confused. She has a lot of nervousness about being around them, is what she says. She said that she is not she said that she is not who Cody thinks that she is. Because Cody is constantly talking about how he's talking behind her back and blah, blah, blah. And she's doing all this kind of stuff. And she says, I gave my all to that family. I gave my all to Cody. And she's like, and he thinks I'm this person. Why do you have a need then ever... Forgiveness is for you, not for him, okay? To work through that pain, that's for you. But why you would ever even entertain... It's healthy to say, I forgive Cody. I don't want anything to do with him anymore, okay? I wish he and Robin the best, but no, I don't have any desire to go on a double date with them. I don't need to go on a double date with them. My husband doesn't need to go on a road trip with them, okay? Because she says in there, Cody doesn't know who I am. And he doesn't after 30-some years of marriage or 20-some years of marriage, he still doesn't know who I am. Why would you want to even entertain any small relationship with a person? It's almost like dialing up pain. I don't understand it. Why would you want to entertain any kind of relationship with this man, okay, that doesn't know you, treated you like crap at all? Like, I don't you found yourself a good man, Christine. Walk away from this. She's like, he doesn't know me. And she doesn't like what he says about her. She's like, I hear what he says about me, and I don't like it. She says she gave it my all. So, then we're back with Cody, and this is how it all ends. But there's going to be next week as well. And I don't know if that's the last one, or if we got a fourth one. I don't know. Cody says he has a good relationship with Mary, but he doesn't talk to Christine. He hasn't talked to her in a couple years. He says that they haven't healed much. Suki says you haven't seen each other that much, so that might be why you need to heal, right? Which I think is interesting. I'm like, why? Okay, I think this is where I don't know how much production is pushing these questions, because Suki seems to always side with the women. But why do we need to push this narrative of there needs to, that healing equals bonded relationships, okay? Individual healing from toxic relationships also looks like setting boundaries and limits and saying, it can say, I forgive you, but I also don't want anything to do with you. I forgive you. It's not healthy for you to be in my life. I forgive you, yada, yada, yada. Or I don't forgive you yet. I hope to get there someday. Healing doesn't necessarily look like we all got to go to Shoney's breakfast buffet and sit down and eat the hash brown casserole, okay? That's not what healing looks like. I don't know why we have to push this narrative that we got to get back to season 1 of Sister Wives for healing to begin, okay? Where they're all happy together again. Those days are over. The fact that Suki even insinuates that, I'm like, why would you want these women to put themselves in that pain again? And I'm like, is she being forced to ask these questions? Because it doesn't seem like something she would say. Suki says, you haven't even seen each other that much. She says, why haven't you seen each other? Because they're divorced, is why. Because they're divorced, and he doesn't see the kids, and he has no interest in seeing the kids or having relationships with the kids. So they're not even co-parenting at this point, and they're his ex-wives. And I don't know, Suki, if you're being fed these questions or if you don't know about how the real world works, and I like Suki, but most divorced people don't hang out with their exes, or they wouldn't be their exes anymore. They would have worked through the relationship. But not one of these couples in the later years ever worked on marriage counseling. We never saw that on the show. They never tried to work on their marriages at any length, except for that one therapist in Vegas years and years and years ago. They didn't try to work on it at all. So they're their exes now. There was a lot of pain that occurred in these relationships. There was abandonment that occurred, okay? They all agree that Mary was abandoned. They were all abandoned except for Robin. There was a lot of toxicity. There was a lot of trauma. Why would they want to continue to have a relationship with the person that hurt them through that? That's so weird to me, that take on all of that. I don't even get it. And she's like, why haven't you seen Christine? And he says, she's very undermining. And I'm like, okay, here, Christine, here's your proof right here. He just said you're undermining, okay? This is why you don't ever want to hang out with this man again, because he's talking shit about you on the reunion show. He says it's for personal reasons and he doesn't want to discuss that. I'm like, okay, but your show is about your life, and now we're on the reunion, and you don't want to talk about it. Okay. And he says he doesn't want to discuss it, and Suki says, why don't you just meet Christine where she's at? I don't know why we need to meet anybody where we're at. They're exes. The show is over! The show is done, okay? The fairy tale it's over. The wives are gone. I mean, Christine's been married to David for over 2 years now. Janelle is living in North Carolina with Maddie. She's starting to farm. Mary is traveling the world and selling her LuLaRoe. He don't have nothing to do with the kids except for Brescia and Fashawn. I don't know what her name is anymore. Chiffon, Fashawn. I mean, he don't have Dakota or whatever that kid's name is, Dayton, that they all moved to Arizona for so he could go to college. He hasn't been on an episode in years, okay? The show is fucking over. Why are we talking about healing wounds from 20 years ago? Those are things, if we want to start a show called Sister Wives in Therapy, that's the show we need to do. But to act like we're going to bring them all together on Coyote Pass, that day is done, okay? Why are we, I mean, you literally want to talk about beat a dead horse. I mean, this show is trying to make a show, I mean, it just needs to be done, okay? It's very similar to how I feel about Welcome to Plathville. It's like, you are literally stringing these people, I mean, it's at this point, it is bringing up trauma from 20 years ago and making these people relive this trauma over and over and over again for a TV show. Because what? I don't know. They can't, I don't know. Doesn't he sell guns or some shit like that? So then at the end, he won't answer Suki about meeting Christine where he's at. He just looks at her and he won't answer her. It's so weird. And he says, there's nothing left to say right now. And then he just keeps on staring at her. And she says, are we going to have a stare down contest? And he goes, there's nothing else to say right now. And then they just stare at each other. And then it goes off to scenes from next week. I'm like, how many episodes is this show going to be? Oh my God. Anyway. It's too much. It is too much. Anyway, let me know what you thought about all that in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.